What is going on, everybody? First of all, come on. It's pretty cool. Come on, it's pretty cool. All right, let's talk about the Backfire. This is going to be a crazy build guide. It's a high-end build, so we're not using gear set, no strikers. I'm really proud of this build, honestly. It plays together really, really nicely, and it's flexible too because we're running high-end. There actually is some room to customize it a little bit to your liking, and I got some secret sauce for you. But let's get into the build classification. I'll give you the walk around, and then we'll start looking at the build pieces in depth. I know you guys are hyped about this one as well. So, this is the general Backfire build, and I'll start with the purpose here, because I've done quite a few Backfire builds, but the one that really broke the season was the Brooklyn Beast. That one was super strong. It was running all blue, but actually hitting for millies with the Backfire, and everyone was loving it. The key there was that it was using a seasonal modifier. So everyone was super hyped about it and enjoying it during the season. But I've been teasing for some time now, and I know the members of the channel, shout out to you guys, you've been asking for this for a while now. Well, it's finally here. This is my general version of the Backfire for any season. So the key here is that we're full Hasbro. We're still getting a lot of the power of that other build. And on top of that, we're stacking armor. So it's a beautiful blend of tankiness, DPS, and then we have full Hasbro with the Backfire, all rolled together in one package. You can play through any content with this. I talked about how it's flexible. You can swap some pieces in and out, one piece mainly, but that could change pretty much the build as well as the cores. I've showed it off in Legendary, where I still put up top damage like usual, but I actually use it in Retaliation a lot, so it's good for general content farming as well. Like I've mentioned, it's a hybrid tank DPS, and you can play around with it a little bit. The playstyle, flexible as well, but it is an SMG, so it is going to limit you on your range. I typically run this pretty aggressive with some blues, especially in Legendary. Farmability is going to be medium. We're not doing anything too crazy. If you want to make it more DPS and you start changing some of the cores to red, it does almost entirely roll blue. Natively, we are doing some mix-ups, but it'll be a harder farm depending on how you set it up. For the most part, it's really not that bad. So what we're going to do now is show the original Brooklyn Beast. I'm going to talk to you about the logic and kind of my thought process, and then we're going to go over to the new build and start walking through all the anchor pieces. Alright, y'all, so this is pretty much the original setup. There's a couple variants I have talked about. I've made plenty of videos on this, and I've converted it since into a regular build that I still run in Legendary and regular content on this character. But this was the Brooklyn Beast, and it was so cool because it was strikers plus memento plus full Hasbro. Now, luckily, the seasonal modifiers gave us exactly 30% of that extra Hasbro, so I've since converted these to bleed resistance. You could still be bleed pro from the Backfire. You won't have to suffer any damage or annoying animations from this setup, but you're not fully Hasbro, and once you've experienced being fully Hasbro, it is kind of hard to go back, especially when you're used to running it, then you run through fire and stuff. It's not going to do damage to you, but it really takes you out of the flow. If full Hasbro is really nice. If you know, you know. So, I wanted to capture the vibe of this with full Hasbro. And I realized that strikers wasn't really the key thing here. It was actually the memento. So, people loved the tankiness of this build and how much it was stacking armor. That's because we were killing and then picking up trophies from the memento. And I've done a lot of build setups that use the memento. It's really strong. But because we're stacking all these blues, each kill is giving us 60% bonus armor, which is crazy. So 2 kills and you're more than doubling your armor. Like, it's crazy, right? So I wanted to play into that, and then I started finding different ways that we can combine that to get the full Hasbro and then still keep our damage up to at least a decent amount. Of course, strikers was helping us get those kills, but it's impossible to fit strikers plus memento plus full Hasbro. There's literally just not enough room. This is the closest you can get, and this only brings you to 70, and then you have to do the rest. Bleed resistance. So let's go over to the other build, and I'll show you what's up. Alright, y'all, so let's take a look at the new setup. It's high-end, and we're going to walk through the core pieces here, starting with, of course, the memento. So, like I was talking about, the memento was really the key here. It's giving us a lot have different benefits, and I wanted to capture that same energy of the original build, so we are using the Memento. If you don't love the Memento, which, first of all, that's crazy, but if you don't, then I have another build that uses the Ninja Bike backpack and is full Hasbro, so there's strikers on that too, actually, and you don't even have to. You could use Hunter Fury or something else. Check out my Tactician Countdown build. I'll probably link it up here. It'll be really good for you if you don't love using the Memento and you still like the Hasbro lifestyle. So Memento, of course, is the anchor. Now, the question after that is, where can we get the rest of our Hasbro as efficiently as possible to make room for damage, as well as some other utility? And that ended up being Triple Uzina, actually, was the most efficient way to do it. Now, there's a few options that you could do here. You could run Double Cavalier, will also give you 30% Hasbro. That's actually what I use in the Ninja Bike version. But to then run 2 pieces that you're losing all other brand bonuses just to get the 30%, then you're also losing minor attributes. It actually made a lot more sense to run Uzina. And we're getting some utility out of that. We're getting total armor, which I think is really, really weak. I generally don't value total armor at all, especially with expertise now. But the armor on kill is nice. That is actually nice to have. And then 30% Hasbro was really strong. So that's kind of our core here that's taking it up all of these slots, is the Triple Uzina. And you can put that basically anywhere here in our main section, because the next is the Hollow Man, of course, is a beautiful synergy. We're utilizing that 10% Hasbro from the base. And then you'll see here, right, that combined with the Hasbro on the rest of the pieces are roll. So we do need to roll Hasbro everywhere on all these high-end pieces with the way I have it set up. And then with that last 10% from Hollow Man, we're actually full Hasbro. And that's it. So that's 98.5, which is full immunity from everything, not just the bleed. And you'll see we're getting that from all of our rolls, as well as these 2 gear sets, plus the watch. So remember, you need to be watch at least level a K to get that extra Hasbro. If you're missing, that might be why. The other thing that comes up could be Double Cheska, which makes a lot of sense to get that crit chance, and then it gives you 20. But it actually doesn't really make that much sense, because if you swap out Uzina for Double Cheska, then you are still missing Hasbro. And then if you swap out Hollow Man for Double Cheska, you could fit that. But I don't know why you would need to do that, because you're going to have too much Hasbro, assuming you roll everywhere, at which point I think opening up a slot is actually more valuable than just having the extra minor attribute. So that's essentially the core of the setup here in terms of the gear. Memento is our anchor. We're using Uzina as our main brand set, as well as the Hollow Man, which is locking down the mass slot. And then you have one freebie the way this is set up. And that's what I love so much about this build, is that because we're running it this way without using Cheska, we have one slot that you could use whatever you want. Non-exotic, because we are using Memento, but as long as you can roll Hasbro on it, for me it's the gloves. This is totally open. I'll talk about some of the options here, but you could tailor it to damage, utility, skill. It's really flexible, and you could swap it in and out depending on the content you're doing, which is what I love. And so that leads me to, of course, my secret sauce is the Motherly Love. You've seen me use this before. I'm obsessed with these gloves, especially since the update. Like 25% skill health is just so crazy from one piece. And of course, I'm talking for the shield. So base here, we're almost at 6 mil health on the shield. And then we're going to get another 30% skill efficiency, which is obviously including the skill health from Memento once we start stacking this up. And then our smaller shield is actually going to have a crazy amount of health. So super tanky. This is definitely the piece that I go for. And actually, the way I have it set up, I'm throwing the repair skills attribute here from the brand. We're not even using it because I actually have the striker drone. Now, when I play in Legendary, you'll see that I swap to the Artificer. That's another way that you can tailor this build to your own playstyle. We're not super strict on what you use here. So you could run it like this, which is what I had in Legendary. So we're using Motherly Love, getting a lot of that skill health, and then the repair skills is helping our Artificer. And this, again, this is base, so that's 41% of our shield is coming back every 10 seconds. We have an almost 6 mil health shield, and then the Memento is going to buff that even more. And you saw this can put up in Legendary. Now for general content, I like running the Striker Drone. I think it's really fun when you're running around. The skill health will help it as well. And so if you want to have a tankier drone and shield, you can keep it. But I also have this piece here where you're still getting skill health, so it's still helping your shield and your drone. But because we're not wasting the repair skills brand bonus, we actually get another crit damage roll. So if you don't need all that tankiness and you want just a little bit more damage, you could run something like this. So I swap in and out of doing like this. Of course, you can run just a straight Sokolov piece if you want more damage as well. That works. For me, I take it into Legendary. You need the 25% skill health. And you can move these pieces around. Maybe there's a named piece over here that you like. You could do Brazos. So there's a lot of ways that you can customize this build to your liking, and that's what I think is so fun about it. You can take it in Legendary. You can run it through Retaliations. I'll probably post some gameplay of that. It's a really fun all-around build for generally any content. If you love using the Backfire, this is it. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the rolls here. So you'll see on my pieces, because we're running high-end, we have multiple minor attribute slots open on everything. I don't need to be pressed for getting my crit chance up, because we have plenty of room, actually. And then I'm running health damage here with this named piece, super strong. And then crit chance on these other, and then crit damage. So it ends up working out really, really nicely. And if you don't want to go crit damage, like I have on these two pieces, again, you could go with utility or something like that. You have options with this setup, and that's what I love the most about it. You'll see me using this a lot, and it's great to have on your character in your build inventory for just general play when you want to be Hasbro and still be really, really strong. Alright, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this build video where I walked you through all of the different details of this setup. It's a super strong build. I've been loving it, and I'm glad to finally show you the general purpose Backfire setup. So it doesn't matter what season it is when you're watching this video. If you watch it later and if we change seasons, you're all good. This is going to be a build that will stand the test of time. So add it to your inventory and hit the subscribe button for more builds like this. I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.